What's up, Copa Fanatics? Lauren here, and today we're going back to Spain. I'm discussing Spanish wine law, but I also really want to highlight something called Vino de Pago. It sits at the top of the Spanish wine law pyramid and is relatively unknown. So we're going to kind of dig through from the bottom up. We're going to discuss what the DOs are, the DOCs, and finally get to Vino de Pago and why it's so special and unique. So if you like to sell, enjoy, or taste wines of Spain, this video is for you. So you heard me mention the term Vino de Pago, and I want to clarify what that is. It is a classification within Spanish wine law given to an estate winery within a DO that has a long history of winemaking, distinct terroir, and the ability to make wines of character and distinction. So essentially, this is a way to recognize high quality, distinct, and special vineyards throughout Spain. This pyramid is what governs and defines the wine law hierarchy in Spain. This pyramid was created in 1932 and it was called the Denomination de Origin, the DO system. In 1970, it had revisions, and 2016, it became what you see here now. It starts at the bottom of the pyramid is the majority of the grapes you're finding, and then you're getting smaller and smaller towards the top, finally ending up at Vino de Pago. The bottom of the pyramid tends to have less restrictions, less laws, and the top of the pyramid has more restrictions and more laws that they have to abide by. And then there's a perceived lower value at the bottom and a perceived higher value at the top. The reason I say perceived is because you can find excellent wines from all of these classifications. You just really have to search out for them. But in general, buying wines from the top of the pyramid are a safer bet if you want wines of high value. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to be discussing the DOP, and that is the Spanish wine law hierarchy. We're just going to kind of leave the EU on the side. So within the DOP, each region is governed by something called the Consejo Regulador. And the laws that it governs are the boundaries of the region, the permitted varietals, maximum yields, the limits of alcohol strength, and other quality standards or production limitations. And as of 2019, there are 96 DOPs that are subdivided into the bottom, you see there, the Vinos de Calidad, VC. Then above that, you have the DO, Domination of Origin. Above that, you have DOC, DOCA, DOQ, kind of depending on where you are within Spain, the different dialects of Spanish language. And very at the top, you have the Vinos de Pago. And there's something very unique about that, which we'll get into. Wines outside of the very strict DOP laws are referred to as vinos de la tierra. But before we get into all of that, it's very important that we mention vino de mesa, aka table wine. This is oftentimes bulk and cooking wine, and it's made from unclassified vineyards. But other times, grapes can be declassified through illegal blending. This is also not part of EU regulations or classifications. This has nothing to do with it. This is only in Spain. So what kind of makes this Vino de Mesa unique and why I wanted to make sure to talk about it is if you are familiar with Italian wine law or Italian wines in general, you might have heard the term Super Tuscan. And that is technically a table wine as well because they aren't growing permitted varietals for the region, but it became very popular growing Cabernets and Merlots, more French-style varietals in Tuscany. But they're great wines. So as I mentioned earlier, we talked about the perceived value. In this Vino de Mesa classification, there are some wineries kind of trying to break free from Spanish wine law and create their own intentionally declassified wines so they have greater flexibility in blending and winemaking methods. One step up, we have the VDLT or IGP wines. VDLT, Vins de la Tierra, they are outside of the Consejo Regulador. They are not really monitored that much. There are 42 classified regions of VDLT. The reason they're in here is because they're also called IGP wines and they're recognized by the EU. So it's important to recognize these regions. They're kind of regions that are coming up into perhaps achieving status and being regulated later. They are the lowest level of quality lines. They are less established regions and lesser known varietals. One step up from that, and this is where we are starting to get regulated by the Consejo Regulador, is VC. And this is a category that was only just formed in 2003, at the same time that Vino de Pago was formed. And these wines do not fully meet the strict standards of the DO category, so it's just one notch below DO, but they are above the standards of the vdlt category. Next up, we have DO and DOC wines. These two represent the highest quality tiers of wine growing regions. Your DOs are your more mainstream quality regions, places like Rías Baixas, Navarra, Montsant, Penedès. And then you have your DOCA, DOQ regions. These terms are coming more from within Spain based on Spanish language and dialect. So you have two regions only that are DOC qualified regions, being Rioja and Priorat. Rioja falls more in mainland Spain, so it speaks traditional Spanish. There it's called the DOC. In Priorat, they speak Catalan, so their language is that dialect, and so that's the DOQ. These regions are a step above DO level, and they are here because they have a consistent track record of quality. A little interesting tidbit for you wine lovers out there. In 2008, Ribera del Duero was approved to receive this DOCA classification, but acquiring the status was really never pursued, and Ribera del Duero just remains a DO today, most likely because they didn't want to follow the strict laws that come with becoming a DOC. That takes us all the way to the top to Vino de Pago. As a reminder, this is an estate winery within a DO that has a long history of winemaking, distinct terroir, and the ability to make wines of character and distinction. So the VP status entails that the estate is perceived to be one of the greatest estates in all of Spain, and therefore it's granted elevated status above that of DO. It is very similar to the French Grand Cru. Each VP is allowed to draw up its own rules, its own grapes used, methods of viticulture, vinification, aging. So it provides a flexibility that was not previously seen in Spanish wine regulations. So something I really want to highlight here is that Vino de Pagos are estate wineries, not regions. Everywhere else on the wine pyramid is individual regions, and then this is the individual wineries. There are currently only 19 Vino de Pago wineries in all of Spain. So if we go back to this first pyramid that we looked at, we have the Vino de Mesas, which aren't even on here because they are not part of Spanish wine law. They're completely declassified grapes. Next level up, Vinos de la Tierra, the VDLT wines. And those are not regulated by the Consejo Regulador. Those are just kind of more wines that are within a territory, but they don't really have any regulation. They can do what they want. And then you have the VDC wines, the Vinos de Calidad. These are wines that are regulated, but the regions themselves quite haven't earned DO status. They are working towards it. They might be lesser known regions, small regions, growing grapes that are not quite heard of yet. They're working on getting to that DO status though. You're trying to climb the rungs of the ladder here. Next, you've got DO, domination of origin. Those are your mainstream regions. There's about 75 of them right now. And then above that, you have your DOC regions. We mentioned that's Rioja and Priorat. And at the tippy top, that's where we find Vino de Pago. And once again, that is an award given to individual wineries for distinction of character. So I hope that clarifies to you why Vino de Pago wines are so special, so unique, and so rare. They're definitely worth a look. All right, thank you so much for watching. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like below, leave a comment. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. You can also follow us on our social media pages at Copa Fina. Cheers.